Tonight, war and peace, things fall apart as hope for a peace deal hits serious snags. Russia's deadly strikes on Ukraine's capital overnight, killing 12 and injuring dozens more, one of the worst in nearly a year. President Trump speaking out against Russia, calling on President Putin to stop, while trying to salvage a deal, what he said in the White House, as Ukraine resists American pressure to make major concessions. Nearly 100,000 mourners come to pay final tribute to the Pope. Inside the funeral preparations and plans for the conclave to replace him. Tom Yamas, live from the Vatican. Our exclusive new poll, nearly 100 days into the Trump administration, why Gen Z says they're struggling to make ends meet in the Trump economy. And inside their startling divides. Why one of the biggest wildfires in the Northeast ever is now being investigated as arson. And above the fire lines, Jacob Soberoff's exclusive reporting about the high-tech research on wildfires being done from the sky by NASA. But is the program in jeopardy? Why are dolphins dying? We go to the California coast to see what's killing these spectacular marine mammals. And the two brothers whose NFL aspirations were blindsided by unthinkable tragedy. He is one of them, set to fulfill their dreams tonight at the draft in Green Bay.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening and welcome. We start tonight with the dramatic images from Ukraine. Russian missiles raining down over Kyiv and striking deep at the heart of fragile American-led peace efforts. The deadly attack, one of the most devastating strikes on a large Ukrainian city since the start of the war, killing at least 12 and injuring 90 others. Some were pulled from the rubble. The Ukrainian Air Force saying a combination of over 200 Russian missiles and drones targeted the Ukrainian capital. Roughly half, they say, were shot down. The overnight bombardment taking place hours after President Trump accused Ukraine's President Zelensky of derailing peace negotiations, saying peace was very close. The president, who campaigned on a promise to end the war in Ukraine on day one, today issuing a rare rebuke of Russia. Here's Keir Simmons.
Tonight, President Trump addressing President Putin by his first name, writing, "Vladamir, stop," after 12 were killed by a Russian onslaught on Ukraine's capital. A massive strike, and one missile may have been North Korean, Ukraine's President Zelensky says.
Скільки можна?
How much more, this Ukrainian woman pleads.
I didn't like last night. I wasn't happy with it. And we're in the midst of talking peace, and missiles were fired.
The images from Kyiv of families cowering in shelters, nothing like the peace deal the president still promises. Very bad timing, Trump wrote in his message to Putin, insisting today a deal is still close.
We're putting a lot of pressure on Russia. I think that they both want peace right now. They're ready to do something.
Though Trump wrongly calling Putin's failure to take more Ukrainian territory a concession.
Stopping the war. Stopping taking the whole country. Pretty big concession.
And just 24 hours earlier, his rift with President Zelensky magnified after the Ukrainian leader refused to accept the U.S. proposal to recognize Russia's annexation of Crimea, saying it's against Ukraine's constitution.
I thought it might be easier to deal with Zelensky. So far, it's been harder.
Zelensky cutting short a foreign trip, saying it's Russia that has refused an unconditional ceasefire. The Kremlin insisting tonight Putin stands for a peace that respects Russia's interests. On the streets of Moscow this week, this Russian woman telling NBC News there needs to be a truce, but this man urging Russia to keep fighting. And in Kyiv, this woman saying we do not need peace at any price. Battle-hardened views making compromise harder.
Keir, what more do we know about these peace talks? Is a deal, in fact, close?
Well, Lester, President Trump's envoy, who was at the peace talks in London this week, General Kellogg, told me today they were, quote, candid, constructive and productive. But the talks are also exposing red lines on all sides that make achieving a deal really difficult. And President Trump saying today, we want it done. We have a deadline. Lester?
Keir Simmons. Thank you, Keir. Turning now to the Vatican, where tens of thousands of mourners flowed through St. Peter's Basilica again today to honor the life of Pope Francis. Tom Yamas is there. And Tom, there's been a flurry of activity today.
That's right, Lester, and we can still see the lines moving here in St. Peter's Square. They have blown past that midnight deadline a second night in a row. City officials are now estimating more than 100,000 people will show up here for the Pope's funeral on Saturday. The aisle inside St. Peter's Basilica has been packed like this for nearly 2 days now. More than 90,000 people have paid their respects to Pope Francis so far. Vatican cameras capturing this moment, showing a nun who was a close friend of Pope Francis, allowed special access near the casket. She then begins to cry.
He wanted peace, and he was a good man, and he was so kind. I mean, I got really upset when I heard he passed away.
Cardinals are meeting daily to finalize plans for Saturday's funeral in St. Peter's Square, with the Vatican revealing new details today, including the libretto, a program with the planned readings, prayers, and psalms. The Vatican says delegations from 130 countries will be there, including 50 heads of state. These American college students told me they will be too.
When I heard that the Pope died, I just instantly came to the conclusion I have to go to the funeral, you know. I very much so respected the Pope and I really liked him.
Father Patrick Briscoe met Pope Francis several times and will take part in the funeral. What do you expect from the funeral mass?
I expect there will be much cheering, much jubilation. We'll see these great crowds of young people coming enthusiastic about their faith, but wanting to pay their respects for the only Pope they've known in their lifetime.
After Mass, Pope Francis's body will be transported through the streets of Rome. The route, which police shared with NBC News, will pass near the Forum and Colosseum, ending up at Santa Maria Maggiore, the basilica where Pope Francis often prayed and where he's chosen to be buried. Today, the Vatican releasing the images of his simple tomb. Look closely, there's just one word, Franciscus. And announcing on Saturday, the steps of the basilica will be lined with a group of poor and needy. Also attending the funeral, Syrian refugee Wafa Eid, who told me she doesn't know if she'd be alive without Pope Francis. In 2016, the pontiff, along with the St. Egidio humanitarian group, helped rescue her family from a refugee camp, resettling them in Rome.
If you could have said one last thing to him, what would you say?
I would thank him, she says, because he changed the future of my family.
And Tom, tomorrow is the last day the Pope Francis will lay in state.
That's right. The Vatican says the public viewing will end around 7 p.m. local, and then about an hour later, the ancient ritual of the sealing of the coffin will take place. The American Cardinal, Kevin Farrell, will oversee that. He'll preside over it. He's the Camerlengo, of course, and it's one of the last steps before the funeral, Lester.
Okay, Tom, thanks. Now we turn to a terrifying scene in Miami today after a gunman opened fire at a business, wounding several people. George Solis has late details.
Dramatic moments of a shootout today in Miami, caught on video after officials say a suspect opened fire.
Advising police were having a shootout. There were several people in the area, including small children.
Video also showing officers with weapons drawn and people running for cover amidst a hail of gunfire. The harrowing scene unfolding around the lunch hour at a warehouse in southwest Miami. Deputies with shields swarmed the building as several people were evacuated from nearby businesses, some running out of buildings with their hands in the air. Lydia Morgado was in the car with her daughter and was heading to a cheerleading class near where the gunfire began, the pair ducking down for cover.
Seeing my daughter scream in terror, that was really hard. Because as a parent, you're like, at that moment, I felt like we need to be safe.
The sheriff saying 3 were wounded, including the shooter. Hospitals saying they are treating 3 patients now in critical condition.
We want the community to know that right now there is no imminent threat.
Tonight, officials say the investigation is ongoing as they work to learn more about the suspect. They're also asking for any information the public may have. Lester?
George Solis, thank you. The man who confessed to a horrific July 4th massacre will spend the rest of his life in prison. Robert Crimo III was absent from court as he was handed 7 life sentences by a Chicago area judge. Crimo killed 7 people and wounded dozens more during an Independence Day parade in 2022 that stunned the nation. We turn now to that major announcement from authorities in New Jersey saying a massive wildfire there was intentionally set, and they've now made an arrest in the case. Sam Brock is here. Sam, the teenage suspect was in court today.
Yeah, Lester, that's right. Now we're talking about a wildfire that has already burned 15,000 acres, and tonight, Lester, prosecutors have charged a 19-year-old who lives in Ocean County of starting it with a bonfire. They say Joseph Kling faces 2 charges: second-degree aggravated arson with purposely destroying a forest, and a third-degree arson charge. Officials say they pinpointed the origin of the fire using GPS technology, then linked it to Kling, who they accused of lighting wooden pallets on fire and then leaving without properly extinguishing the flames. The wildfire is still just 50% contained, and earlier had forced some 5,000 evacuations. Kling did not enter a plea today, and his public defender did not comment. Lester.
Okay, Sam, thanks. Meanwhile, tonight we're getting an exclusive look inside one NASA mission that studies the science of wildfires. It's an Earth science program that could possibly be at risk due to budget cuts. We get details from Jacob Soboroff.
That's what a controlled burn looks like.
Hannah Blank is part of an interagency effort led by NASA studying the science of wildfire.
All right.
Which means she gets to set one herself.
We'll put a little strip like that. It burns hot and fast.
From the sky, NASA's FireSense mission monitors the fires from technology deployed inside 3 airplanes that map fire details, including temperature, hotspots, and fuels, and is able to transmit real-time data to the ground.
Never walked through a fire before.
Harrison Rain is a former elite hotshot firefighter and now project coordinator for NASA.
This is a science experiment.
This is a science experiment. So really what we're trying to do is we're trying to understand the firefighter experience, and we're trying to combine that with the science to create tools that work under stress.
So basically, it's a triangulation of sorts.
Yes.
Transmitted to firefighters on the ground to better fight a fire like this.
Correct.
Creating the inferno from which the data is collected is a science in and of itself.
The interior, which is the inside of the burn unit, they're lighting off with the helicopter.
You said a helicopter.
That's correct.
Yeah, y'all see us down here?
Yes, sir, we see you.
How important is this chopper in this kind of operation?
It's extremely important. It helps us carry out big acreage in a short amount of time.
Let's go.
This is what that control burn looks like from the sky while it was in part lit by hand. It'll grow to more than 700 acres because of ignition efforts launched from this helicopter.
This machine shoots out ping-pong-sized balls into the forest that combust when they hit the floor.
Do you get the sense operationally the type of data NASA's collecting could change the way they fight fires on the ground? Oh, absolutely, yes. We see it from maybe one dimension, and they're adding a couple more dimensions to it.
Battling fire in multiple dimensions, with scientists joining the firefight of the future. Jacob Soboroff, NBC News, Fort Stewart, Georgia.
Now to our new NBC News Stay Tuned poll, which gives a rare look at how Gen Z views a range of issues, from due process to gender roles and the economy. Here's Savannah Sellers.
25-year-old Claire Joseph is living with her parents to make ends meet.
I can't even afford to rent a place in this area, let alone own anything.
A new NBC News Stay Tuned poll powered by SurveyMonkey shows many young people share her struggles, and 69% of Gen Z poll participants said they disapprove of President Trump's handling of inflation and the cost of living.
I just see my friends running through their savings.
Another area of broad agreement for 18 to 29-year-olds, due process protections for those in the U.S. on a student visa or green card, with 92% of Gen Z saying it's important they're the same as those of U.S. citizens, the highest of any generation polled. 25-year-old Corinne Paulman is not surprised by that number.
I think they should absolutely have the same due process rights as any American.
What do you think the grounds should be for revoking someone's student visa?
Gosh, murder, assault, but not speaking your mind.
23-year-old Jalen Hurts says he also supports due process protections, but thinks some deportations are justified.
I believe if someone is openly expressing hate and violence against the administration or just against the country they're in, I feel like that should revoke the visa.
One of the biggest takeaways, the divide between genders. Asked if America would be stronger if more women held traditional gender roles. Just 26% of young women agreed, compared with 41% of Gen Z men.
I don't want to be perceived as a homemaker. I want to be perceived as me. I'm Corinne.
Do you think that America would be stronger if more women held traditional gender roles?
Oh, 100%. I believe traditional gender roles strengthens the family.
There was also a stark divide between genders on the question of whether they're proud to be American. 41% of Gen Z women said they're not proud, compared to 22% of young men.
Are you proud to be an American?
I am.
But our poll revealed overall, pride is strongest among the oldest Americans and grows weaker with each younger generation.
Are you proud to be an American?
I think that's a complicated answer. I am not proud of what the country is doing right now or the direction we're going. I'm proud of the people who are standing up for it.
Savannah Sellers, NBC News.
We'll be right back in 60 seconds. Mystery at the beach. What's behind a rash of new deaths of dolphins? Our concerning report from California's coast is next. Let's talk now about an urgent crisis unfolding along the Southern California coast where dolphins and other marine mammals are dying. Some researchers say at levels we haven't seen before. Liz Kreutz has more.
Tonight, across the Southern California coast, thousands of marine animals washing up sick or even dead over the past several weeks, including whales, sea lions, and most notably, an unprecedented number of dolphins.
We've never seen this many dolphins strand ever that I'm aware of in Southern California, and it's heartbreaking.
This week, 16 dolphins found dead at just one beach in San Diego, more than 50 found along the LA County coast, and tonight, this humpback whale washing up in the city of Ventura.
How would you compare this year to what we've seen in the past years?
Worse, bad, horrible, scary, concerning, all those words and more.
Scientists say the cause believed to be poisoning from toxic algae blooms that produce a neurotoxin called domoic acid that gets into the animal's food chain.
We had 9 yesterday alone.
The Marine Mammal Care Center Los Angeles says so far this year they've taken in 375 animals. Their typical budget for the entire year, 300.
We're having to pick and choose which animals we respond to, which animals can come in for care.
Scientists say they're now looking into whether debris runoff into the ocean after the LA fires is playing a role in the outbreak.
Has to have a contributing factor. Fire retardant is really fertilizer. That is food for algae. So it's sort of a logical assumption that that's going to feed the algae bloom.
And you can see there's a sea lion behind me here stranded on the beach in Santa Monica. Experts say if you see an animal like this, do not approach it and call animal control. Lester?
All right, Liz, thank you. Floodwater rising when we return. Louisiana underwater. The dramatic pictures just in. Plus, the former NFL star and cable host stepping aside for now, the controversy and what he's saying. Next. Pro Football Hall of Famer Shannon Sharpe says he's stepping away from his role at ESPN for now. It comes after a woman accused him of sexual assault and battery in a $50 million lawsuit. Sharpe says the relationship in question was 100% consensual, and he denies the allegations. Parts of the South are underwater tonight after flash flooding and thunderstorms drenched cities in southern Louisiana and Texas. The ground in many of these communities is already soaked from other recent storms, and the Mississippi River near Baton Rouge is flooded and expected to stay that way through next week. In Arizona, kids selling drinks and snacks for charity were in for a big surprise when NBA star Devin Booker swung by. Check out the moment they realized it was him.
I am.
I'm like your biggest fan.
My man. Give me some.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. You guys keep doing what you're doing.
I love that. The Animal Rescue Charity says Booker made a generous donation. When we come back, the football player honoring his late brother as he enters the NFL draft. How he's carrying on their shared dream of going pro. That's next. Finally, tonight, football fans are anxiously awaiting the NFL draft as it kicks off in Green Bay. And for one college football standout from Louisiana, going pro means fulfilling his own dream and his brother's too. Here's Jesse Kirsch.
Yeah, he could throw. Jack Besh hopes this weekend he'll get the call in the NFL draft.
This weekend is definitely going to be just a roller coaster of emotions.
The 22-year-old TCU wide receiver will be watching and waiting in his hometown Lafayette, Louisiana, surrounded by family and friends. But his biggest fan will be missing.
You still remember what he did out on this field.
Yeah. Jack shared a love for football with his big brother Tiger, a former Princeton standout. They dreamed together about Jack going pro. Their parents say the brothers were inseparable.
They meant everything to each other.
Then New Year's Day, a terrorist barreled down Bourbon Street in New Orleans, killing 14 people, including Tiger. Now, Jack says whichever team picks him is getting a bargain.
It's not just you going to the NFL.
2-for-1 special. You're not only getting me, you're getting Tiger too. I feel like I have another person in me pushing me and taking me to those levels.
Tiger was always known for his fearlessness, and I believe that Jack has now fully embraced that idea of fearlessness.
In spite of everything that's happened, is this weekend about joy for your family?
Definitely mixed emotions. Overriding joy, though. Yeah, for sure.
Because if Jack's childhood dream comes true, he says his brother will still be there.
Now he just has the best seat in the house.
Jesse Kirsch, NBC News, Lafayette, Louisiana.
And that is Nightly News for this Thursday. Thank you for watching. I'm Lester Holt. Please take care of yourself and each other. Good night. Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.